Carl and Lou here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's Freddy's Nightmares, Season 2, Episode 4, Photo Finish, directed by Tom DeSimone, and written by Jonathan Glasner. Okay, it's Photo Finish, it's Freddy Krueger, it's Freddy's Nightmares, and we've had a really strong start with Season 2, and I won't necessarily say it goes off the rails just yet, but we are now reaching a sort of familiarity point where some segments are better than others, some aren't so good, and mostly you end up with forgettable episodes overall. Put this way, as the time of recording, these were watched a few weeks ago. We normally don't like to leave it that long because it's quickly easy to forget. That happened. Quick bit of looking, note-taking, it's all kind of flashback to a degree. So we've got two segments as always. The major cast across both, we have the Patty McCormick who plays Stony Adler, David E. Morin as Peterson, Jason Wingreen as Jack, Lisa Alif as Kiki, Warren Burton as Dennis. There's two quite mixed stories here. Now, there is really, the common theme is just really one thing. It's a Halloween episode. It was one that aired at Halloween, but they do involve Krueger. The first segment more than the second. The first segment is very much revolved around, and the second one is more about influence. But he is in both in an intriguing way. I think of the two stories, the second one is probably better or more interesting because of how it plays out. But the first story is really based around a photographer. And she's a little bit older. Now, the running gag in this episode is that she is in her 40s, early 40s. But basically, she might as well be dead. The way she acts, the way she acts, like it's a little bit egregious about how old she is and how out of time she is. Now she can't keep up with the younger, hipper audiences.
It's like they're kind of saying it makes it sound that she's 90.
Yeah.
Trying to relate to like a teenager.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's not that much of a gap.
It's not.
Like the words they use, well, I can't remember, there was a word they kept using through it, like for like 90s word that we never heard of. We're like, is that an American thing? Because I've never heard that word. It wasn't like bitching or rad, it was something else.
It was something else. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, you're right.
Like,
but the gap wasn't big enough. You're talking about someone in her 40s and people in her 20s.
Yeah, but she was so crabby as well. I was like, she was so... Like,
she was, she was hard to like because she almost came across bitter. She is to a degree because she can't keep up with the sort of fast moving world, and with that she's struggling to find paid consistent work because her sort of photography style is no longer in vogue. It's no longer in style and stuff like that. But she does get an opportunity. There's a new young hip erotic magazine, and she gets a call from the new editor, and they're like, look, we want to kind of bring you into this. You know, you've done some daring stuff in the past. We kind of want that now. Daring and shocking stuff on the erotic side of imagery.
Like in Space when she goes for the interview, is it Flaps, that magazine?
Basically, if you know
it now.
Yes, that kind. It's that basically. But take it a little bit more seriously. Of course, she jumps at the chance, but she actually struggles to meet the brief because a lot of her stuff, even her thinking, is based around sort of cheesy horror stuff. Hey, I've got these girls, and I'm going to do a Jack the Ripper thing. Oh, you're going to be a mummy in a tomb, that kind of thing. So she sends some prints across. The editor's like, no, it needs to be a little bit more, you know,
bordering snuff films almost.
Yes,
like
edgy, really, really edgy. It's supposed to shock as much as it is to titillate. But good old Fred Krueger's like, you know what, man? I don't want to see this woman struggle. I feel for her. I'm going to help her out. So he starts to attack the models, sort of like, I guess the models are falling asleep. Because the whole thing is the models all, for starters, always seem to come exhausted. And they quickly get bored. And I guess because it's taken a long time and they're stuck in the same position, they tend to just fall asleep. And that's when Freddy attacks them. So he attacks the models in their various sort of Halloween-inspired outfits. And from Stoney's perspective, she thinks that initially they're all acting. So like they're struggling with Freddy. She's like, oh yeah, that's amazing. Sweet, and she's getting some great shots and all that. Of course, however, these models end up dead. And that creates a new problem for Stoney as well, because kind of going to be the one blamed for this. Which is basically how it plays out. There's some extra stuff involving a weird assistant. Which is fluff at most.
Of course.
But this is wholly unmemorable, unfortunately. She's a good lead actor.
She
is a good lead actor, but the character's not that interesting.
Likeable,
Or likeable, No. It's solid. It's a solid segment, I think, more than anything else. As I said already, there isn't much of a link to the second story, but I do think this has got a little bit of originality to it that makes for a more interesting watch. And it's got a really cool opening where it's like at a house, a home, someone answers a door, and you've got someone standing there with like a a bed sheet, a ghost bed sheet, but ends up shooting the husband, the wife, and in a rare thing, a kid gets killed here. And you see it, and it's like, okay, that's
quite dark.
That's pushing it. I'm always glad. And from that, we then kind of sort of cut, and it's almost like a stage show because it all takes place within the confines of this house. You can imagine it being on stage, and all the rooms and different things because it's downstairs and upstairs and all that. And you basically got FBI have arrived to track a serial killer.
It's on their suitcase, it's on their briefcase.
It's written, that's fucking fun, isn't it? It's fun. It's like, here's my briefcase, but FBI written on it.
Prop makers going, right, we need to make sure we know. They walked in the door and said they're FBI. Nope, they grab it on their briefcase.
But the FBI are involved because there's a spate of killings that are quite similar to this, and they're trying to work it out. The chalk outlines are quite funny. They even did a chalk outline of so the father got killed in the chair, his throat slashed. So you've done the chalk outline on the chair. It's very silly. And the blood spray pattern is like a perfect circle around it. It's very, very silly. But along comes a specific agent who's basically, I've got the Shining, that kind of thing. And one of the other agents can't stand him and can't stand it. So non-stop makes jokingly can't you feel it? Don't you get a vision and stuff like that? It's fun, but it's also infuriating because the whole thing falls apart because it's like, come on, man, this guy. Because the worst thing is he would be suspected, and they do start to suspect him near the end because he's like, I don't know how I know this.
Yeah. You're going to have to.
Yeah. That's not going to hold up in court.
I'd shut up. Unless I could save people, I'd be keeping that shit quiet. Because unless you can prove it, you're going to get in a lot of trouble.
You're either involved or you're talking shit, basically. But basically, that's mostly the episode. Him having visions and realising that basically the shooter was trying to kill Freddy Krueger. The shooter was the father all along. And he kept seeing visions of Freddy, and Freddy would appear as his wife, and he'd accidentally shoot her and his kid and stuff like that. It's not that interesting of a reveal because obviously it leads to the agents killing each other as well and stuff like that. But how it plays out is entertaining and original. It does get quite silly. It is a very silly concept overall, as I say. An agent that can have the Shining, but it's definitely more memorable than the first segment. So I don't mind the second one.
No, their attitudes are evidence as well.
Yeah.
No gloves, just sit in that chair. No
which is where I get that kind of theatre style show from it. I think it would quite work as quite a thing. I actually think it could have been more fun, right? I think it could have been better. It's one of the times where I'm actually going to say that Freddy not being involved could have been more interesting. Had this been a general murder mystery that kind of revealed some whatever, or the vision guy was ended up being set up by Freddy to be accused of the murders because of this and so on, could have been a bit more interesting. Just, oh no, Freddy was influencing these people being killed, and that's the reveal. Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, 2 segments. That I think the word solid applies to both. Yeah. But overall gives it a middle of the road, a middling sort of review more than anything else. It's neither are memorable enough that if a year down the line, you won't remember these at all.
Definitely not.
That's our episode 4 review, photo finish of Freddy's Nightmare Season 2. You got any thoughts? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.